So guys, this is Victoria, the drama climb, or climb drama, as some would say.
Show us what you think.
From 2015, we should put the date in.
And from 2015, directed by
Sebastian Schapper. I know.
Yeah.
I know all the directors' names.
directed by Sebastian Schapper.
Yeah. Yeah, or Schapper Sebastian, I don't know. It could be incorrect.
Written by
Oh, fuck, who knows, mate? Some German motherfucker.
the writer is just as important.
It's just
the writer is important.
It is. It really
I
is.
feel like we should still introduce ourselves.
It's at
Written by
11.
Hans Hansen.
Yes.
Obviously, yeah.
Music composed by Mozart's daughter.
And Mozart's long
Son.
lost
Yeah.
grandson.
Grandson. Yes.
You said like great grandfather or something, right?
Something like that, yeah. Oh, that's right, yeah. Mozart's daughter. Fuck.
Yeah.
Stupid. Yeah, okay. So I guess we'll just go around the room and
First,
introduce ourselves.
this
Oh,
is-
Lance, you wanted to go first? Oh, yeah.
No, I'm
No,
just
cool.
saying this is. What's the name of our podcast?
I'm going to call it...
Call it what our chat was, which was 2 browns and a white.
This is Two Browns.
But now it's like two... Wait.
It's not Two Browns and a
Two
White.
browns,
It's not
a
two
bit of a
browns
brown, and a white.
2 browns,
Yeah,
1 white.
but she's
miscellaneous.
she's the special guest.
She is
Oh
a
yeah,
special
special
guest.
guest for the
So it's still Two Browns.
No, but who are we?
We are Two Browns and a White.
We haven't introduced ourselves. 2 browns and a white.
Yeah, 2 browns and a white.
Right.
What's our new thing? The Waifu Clubhouse.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the Waifu Clubhouse. Oh,
Bottle
yeah.
cap head.
Bottle cap head. It's just all the names.
It's all the names, yeah.
Yeah, it's working title.
We are named Squid.
Insert name here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are insert name here.
Yeah.
And we.
I'm Tucky. What's your name?
Yeah. Well, Dougie, I am Lance.
Oh god. Okay.
Oh god, I'm Victoria, and we have our special guest for our first one.
Hi, I'm Francis and I'm an alcoholic.
Hi,
So we're doing
Francis.
wrong
Hi,
group.
Hi, Francis.
Oh fuck, is that the one on Tuesdays?
Yeah, it's on the Tuesday.
Shit, okay.
Yep.
Right.
What's happening Tuesday?
That's when she's going to AA, obviously.
You're going to AA.
Oh. Nice. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Getting your
You
attitude
brought a bottle of
adjusted.
vodka.
Yeah.
She's actually the alcoholic, yeah.
No, I go to AA because German films make you want to do heroin.
Oh.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess I'll start. Well, I actually won't start. So I chose this film.
Yeah, you
This
did
was
choose
my
this film.
selection, and I think what we should first do is go around the room and ask people what they thought, because I've already seen this film, and we'll take in what you guys think, and then I'll let you guys know why I chose this film and why I decided to put it on my list. So I'm gonna start with
The special guest, I think.
the special guest.
I think a special guest is a good first place to go, you know?
Alright, yeah. Let's start with the special guest,
Francis, you're up.
Francis.
Right, so, firstly, a lot of death. Big fan of that. Secondly, cinematography is cool as fuck because it makes you want to slit your wrists. No, but in that cool German Berlin aesthetic vibe.
Right.
That like David
There
Bowie
is
went
no hope.
to like detox
Yeah.
from cocaine.
Mm.
It's real pretty and there's like lights and shit and chiaroscuro, that's the only term that I remember.
Nice. Yeah,
But I think they probably use it. It's quite film noir.
Yes.
I don't know if it is that, but it might be. Also, I like her hair quite a lot.
Mm. It's tied up quite a lot, isn't it?
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Mm.
tied up and then down.
And then down
I
and
feel like it's representing.
I think
something
you
that they-
could be onto something. Mm.
Yeah.
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 Cool. Yeah, nice. Nice. Yeah, well, obviously, we're going clockwise.
Oh, we're going clockwise? Okay.
Yeah, this is how it is, isn't it?
I don't know, I was a little confused by the choices, like, because the whole one shot thing, like, I understand that that's extremely difficult to do, but I don't know if it made any sense artistically, you know, like, I
Mhm.
don't think there was an actual need for it to be shot like that, and also, like, I thought, because they start in the club,
They do
And
start in the
then-
club, yeah.
halfway through, they're back, like, well, I guess halfway through, technically, they're back in the club,
Mhm.
and I honestly thought that was the end of the film, because I thought like it made sense to open and close in the same location.
Mm.
So then it just kind of kept going, and I was like, all right, this is getting a bit dull. Like,
Mm.
can we end already? So yeah, that confused me a lot. But I'm sure we can talk about that. Go
Well,
Lance.
Victoria stole my entire thought process. I thought the film had come to its natural conclusion when we came back to the club. And then, after that, I was just saying, like, and then there were plenty of times after that I was like, okay, this is the end. And then it wasn't the end. And it was confusing, and I wonder, like, all three different endings. First, I thought that it was going to end with them walking away with the baby. I mean, second, because first I thought it was going to end in the club, then with the baby, then I thought they were just going to go in the hotel and it was going to end. But no, everyone dies first, and then she walks down the street. And then it ends.
Yeah.
But I feel like...
I don't know why I'm laughing. I don't know.
But I do feel...
Valid points, brother. Yeah.
I do feel the film's natural conclusion. It felt best to end at the club again. But I guess we're going for a different feeling than I thought. So I guess that's down to the director and writer's discretion.
Why did you choose this, Taki? I guess the first.
Well, I guess the first reason why I chose it was because of its sort of technical feat that it tried to achieve. Because I know that, like, you and I, Vic, we've both seen 1917, and me and Lance have both seen this film called Rope, which was an Alfred Hitchcock film, which I was going to put on here, but then I thought, nah, because I know you both hadn't seen this yet, but I knew that Lance had already seen Rope, and Rope is basically the same concept, where it's all done in one shot, except it does the 1917 way of doing it, where it hides the cuts.
It looks like,
But the thing is, it doesn't actually hide the cuts. Like, the camera just, like, goes into someone's back, and then it comes out of someone's back.
Okay.
It's very obvious, but that's because
It's in the 20s.
it was, like, in the 20s or 40s?
Yeah, 20s.
Was it 20s?
I thought it was 27.
Oh, wow.
I think it's like the first colour film, right?
Yeah, it's one of them. It's, like, one of his earliest films. And so I thought, I've seen this. Because I've seen 4 one-shot films, which was Rope, this, 1917, and Birdman.
Okay.
And so these other 3 films, they all hide their cuts, essentially, so they're never true...
It was 48.
Yeah, I thought it was 4, yeah. Because 20s is like fucking Metropolis and shit.
I thought Metropolis was 33.
Is it?
No, it's
Such
just...
a mate.
No, thing was in the 20s. That movie we watched with the train flip.
Oh, the general.
Yeah, the general.
Yeah, fucking that's classic cinema. That'll be on the other list. But
That was better than Metropolis though.
that's a discussion for another time. Fucking Metropolis. Yeah, you must have seen it. You know. Yeah. You know. So yeah, that was essentially the main reason why I chose this film. When I first saw it, I didn't know what to think at first because I had the same reaction that you guys had, where like, oh yeah, it's gonna come full circle. They're back at the club now, da 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 da, and then it just kept going and kept going and kept going and kept going. And I think we've discussed in the past like how the pacing can sort of dip in and out or like up and down at times, because it's like when it gets from like a character going from point A to point B, that can be pretty like dull, right? You know, because you're just sort of watching them travel from here to here, and it's like they're trying their best to make it like
somehow interesting
and engaging, yeah, but it's just sort of like sometimes it doesn't quite work. I almost fell asleep twice watching this. I'm not gonna lie, because I was so tired. I was like, oh yeah, yes, good film, yeah. But no, I think it's a good film. I think it's got its flaws, definitely. We were talking about like some other technical stuff watching it, like the white balance, and things like that. Like I'm fairly certain it's white balance for indoors, for interiors.
A lot of the outside scenes was dark to the point you almost couldn't see what was going on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like when it comes to like that daybreak morning, it's like super blue. Yeah. But also the television wasn't quite optimized, because I'm looking at them now and they look the same.
Oh, okay.
And I'm just like, damn.
I guess like that's why I said like artistically I don't really see the point, because then you're sacrificing the quality of your outdoor scenes just to make it one take. Whereas like I guess like you'd have to do the hide the cuts. Yeah. But then you would be able to re-white balance the camera and it would look a lot sharper and clearer.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, because it's like yeah, sure, it's all in like one take and one shot, but then they've got like obviously what you said, like the cons to it, where it's like they can't really white balance the camera, they can't really change the exposure or the aperture when they're going in and out. So like, you know, when it's a scene like this, it's like fairly decently lit, but then when they're like in an alley or like just driving, it's like super what the fuck, so underexposed that you can't see anything. But yeah, what did you think about the technical stuff, Lance? Did that like hinder the enjoyment of the film itself? Like, do you agree with the idea that like artistically it doesn't work?
I think, like, as I said, like the one shot through the whole thing, I think it actually made the film more immersive. I actually think, like, yeah, it felt more realistic because obviously you actually watch something and there's nothing there to take away from the feeling of realism. Because, yeah, nothing is stopping, there's no cuts, there's nothing.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like close-ups in this film as well. Which I must say, like, I must commend the fucking like focus puller, because like he must have had a real stressful night. Like trying to keep focus the whole time. It's just like, oh my god. And like he likes to like do shots like this. We've got it like on screen. Close-ups of the main character. What did people think of this main character, Victoria?
Her motivation I don't get. Like so I understand that they're trying to have this sort of tragic backstory with the piano and it didn't work out, and you know, like I get the impression that obviously she's working some minimum wage job and she's kind of lost her sense of like her dreams and stuff. But most people don't then decide like, fuck it, I'm gonna do cocaine and rob a bank.
But
you know, like
I was saying, like you said, like that. But I think she was just born looking for something centered. Like if we go back even to the start, like she was just trying to do anything fun. Like she tried to hook up with that bartender immediately at the start of the film. She's looking to do anything that can get her that next high.
I still feel like even if you're looking to like, oh no, fuck the barman, like you're not gonna go from fucking the barman to let's get some guns and break into a car and rob a bank. You know, like that's a little. I feel like
their choice though.
I don't know if it was in time, but like there's that point where one of the guys collapses, and like the three of them get out the car to look after him, and it's like she's in the car. She wanted to drive away. Go now. You know, like there are a lot of points where if she wanted an out, she could have just floored it. And there'd been nothing they could do about it.
But I think, like, to like Lance's point as well, like I feel like she is a character that like wanted some sort of like escapism from like her mundane life, and so like I think like throughout the course of the film you get this sense of like, you know, oh, I'm like hanging out with these guys, and it's like the first time you see them, she's like, oh, like I want to hang out with you, but I don't know, it's not really your car, da 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 da. Like, you know, you can tell that there's something a little bit off, or at least it feels like there's something off about them, but she still like connects with them like as the story goes on. And I think I think that was the intention, was to have her sort of go along this ride up until the point where she sort of is so intrigued by it all that like it's like I've got nothing better to do, oh fuck it, like my life's going nowhere and then I'm gonna dive head first. At least that's what I think the intention was. And then of course, like I think what Francis was saying, how it's like it's even really her choice in the end of the day, because she's sort of been roped into it, but then she's also, like you said, not really choosing to escape. But then it's like, oh, I don't really want to, because they, in the end, they sort of make it like her decision to like stay, and you know, he gives her an out quite a lot, like, you know, you don't have to do this, but you know, we need help, da da da. And then it's funny because like he in the cafe scene, he does that to her where it's like, you don't have to do it, but like we need your help, da da da. And then later on when she sees the baby and she's like to the mum, it's like, oh, we're good people, like we need your help, da da da. It's like almost paralleling that sort of method, or that morality where like you can sort of see how like a good person can do bad things in order to escape a shitty situation, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of would have liked, because at the very opening of the film, you get that interaction with the barman and this kind of sense that she's like thrill-seeking. Yeah. And I maybe would have liked just a few more minutes to explore that, you know, so that you're more grounded in this character before you introduce like I guess the antagonists for this film. You know, like I think you could have had a much stronger idea of what her motivations were if you just had that little bit longer at the beginning to show that like she's actively putting herself into difficult positions just because she wants that sense of, you know, like a rush or a thrill or something
I feel
to
like
do.
having that happen so quickly is kind of partially paralleling how her kind of story arc snowballs, because it's a genuine psychological phenomenon when you start with a small transgression and then you build your way up. So she starts
you dig
with like,
yourself in.
the guys are hanging around a car that's not theirs, whatever, and then they're climbing onto the roof, probably not allowed up there, fuck it, whatever. Oh yeah, that guy's got a machine gun. Fuck it, may as well at this stage.
Yeah, and I guess like they do that with the stealing the beer. But then like I feel like it's weird almost tonally to have like theft and then quiet cafe scene. Like you don't get that immediate snowball. It's sort of like you get this lull in the middle.
Yeah, I think the lull in the middle is to sort of like break up the pacing of it all and to sort of explore her character a bit more. Like the function of this, I don't even know if I should call it a scene because there's no cuts. But I guess it could be a scene. It's a different location or whatever. But like with this, it's sort of exploring her character, her background, and like sort of, I was this pianist, but then, you know, I was like rejected from this fucking school or whatever, blah blah blah. And then he's just like, no, you're good. She's like, no, I'm not good. 16 years I practice every day, 7 hours, you know, intense. And then I got nothing. So like now, what do I got left with my life? I've got nothing, and I want a thrill, which was sort of what I got from this whole scene. Even I think. Sorry, were you gonna say?
No, so yeah, I got the same.
Yeah, because I was gonna say as well, like with the whole her brushing her teeth, just sort of going from all this to like something mundane. You can sort of see in her performance, she's like, you know, going like, oh, like now I'm back here, like the cafe, it's all going back to normal now. And there's even like a slight like sort of joy when the guys come back.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely got that too.
Yeah, when like he sort of comes like, oh, you're sick, da da da. She's like, oh wow, you guys are so drunk, da da da. It's like, I'm so happy I'm back here again. And then
so
obviously,
happy this guy just puked on my cafe floor.
yeah. She's like, oh, you're so drunk. It's your birthday. Yeah.
I think by the time they went to actually go do the robbery, she was more into doing the robbery than the rest of the guys were even.
Yeah. She definitely takes, because in the cafe she sort of becomes this passive character, even though she's like given this choice to join them. But she's also sort of like ridden along throughout most of like the heist planning, and like, you know, even like, hey, if you don't do this heist, we're gonna take your girl, and she doesn't know what's going on, to the point where like when they go into that apartment complex and Son, he just sort of like breaks down when he sees the baby. He's just like, oh, fuck, it's all over. And then she starts taking control of it. It's like, all right, like, fuck this, I'm taking your baby, yoink. And then she starts to like handle everything, even up to the point where they get to the hotel. She's like, okay, give me the money, I'm gonna give them the story, we're gonna do this. Like, she starts becoming a more like active character as the story goes along. And then, you know, she even ends up sort of, I guess it's not really a victory, it's more like a bittersweet sort of ending where like she's got this money, which is like, you know, they establish that she gets paid like €4 an hour for this job, I'm not really making much, to the point where now she's in this sort of like high, and it's like, oh my god, all this, but then now she's lost all of the friends that she's gotten, even, you know, her love interest, which I wouldn't say antagonist, because that's like villain.
Yeah, I just guess like they're sort of the driving force for the plot. They definitely start out as like sort of antagonists, because you know, like you guys were saying, it's like, oh, I hope she doesn't get raped in the end, because that's sort of the tone that it's that like. I guess I don't like, as she goes on, and obviously like we have the thing with the baby, and she's calling all the shots. I don't get what her motivation to continue going is. You know, like I just what is she like? I don't even know what she's going to do with that money. You know,
when you're earning €4 an hour, then you have 50,000 euros. There's a chance to do anything. And
yeah,
it's just
but
like,
I never got that sense of like this is her character's ambition now. You know, like we definitely got the development of what her character wanted to do, and obviously having that sort of like dream that fell through. But you don't have any sense of what her goal or her drive is now.
Because she doesn't.
Yeah, probably because she doesn't. But I'm saying, like, I don't, like, there were points where she was doing things and I'm like, why don't you just give up? You know, like, you could walk away from this now.
But I think, like, especially in this, like, this is the piano scene, right? Oh,
Yeah,
scene-ish.
yeah.
Like, yeah, I think in this scene, is where we really get why she wants the $50,000 at the end and why it's so important to her. In this scene, Son's like, I think it's Son who gets into her head, €4 an hour, that's nothing. That you can't do absolutely nothing with that. And then she's like, yeah, now I have €50,000 at the end. So yeah, of course, she's going to be like, yo, the chance to have that.
Yeah, and again, it's that idea of like, if I leave, what am I going back to? Just my normal, mundane €4 an hour job, you know, and that sort of lifestyle. Whereas I think it's better that she's left with the money because now she's leaving the story arc changed in a way.
Yeah.
Because that's sort of the whole like principle of a character arc, is that like you have to start in one place and then end up in a different place. And so like, I guess that can almost explain why you start in this nightclub and then you end on like the streets or whatever, as opposed to starting in the club, ending in the club, because that's like this whole full circle thing. Whereas that's not really what this story is going for. It's more like, you know, she started poor and now she's rich, but she's gone through this whole traumatic experience like to get there, I guess.
Yeah, I guess like what's interesting is if you had it so it went from club to club, you kind of get this sort of normal, I'd say like 5-point story arc, you know?
Yeah,
like
for
the rising action, you get to the climax, and then you have that sort of high.
Yeah.
And this film is really weird in that it uses that point as
like the middle.
And then it goes down.
Yeah.
Whereas normally, like, you end your film on a high, having had the rough bit. Whereas this is almost backwards. This is, it gets really good, and then it's really bad, which is really interesting, I guess, structurally.
Yeah.
Why they've chosen to do that.
Yeah, no, I agree, because like I said when I first saw it, it was like that was the expected outcome, was that it's this full circle. Like, you know, spoilers for I guess 1917. There's like a similar visual element to that film where it sort of begins with this frame of the character against the tree.
Yeah,
and then it ends
the
same way.
Yeah.
So it's like that sort of like, I guess, artistic, like poetry or whatever is like why that's there. But then of course this one, I think it's done for like a different purpose. Yeah. So like you were saying, Vic, like you sort of, so are you saying that you don't think the one shot was justified?
I just don't know that, like, I understand why it's an interesting concept to do, right? Because, like, technically, it's ridiculously difficult, you know? And, like, I think maybe for something, you know, compared to, like, a very expensive Hollywood movie, something like this, that might help a lot with the budget.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like, then you have an excuse to not go into certain buildings and not see certain characters and, you know, like, that kind of thing. But at times, like, especially the lighting, but also the blocking for some scenes, like especially in the car, you can tell that the cameraman is desperately trying to turn to the people in the back of the car,
and it's
without showing that he's in the car.
Yeah,
you know?
And it's quite funny because like I was just saying to Lance, I think there was one scene where they get in the car and I was like, oh, that's a shame. And he's like, what? I was like, oh, I saw the camera shadow.
Yeah,
like on like one of their shoulders.
You sacrifice that kind of polish that you get from a lot of films when things are so difficult.
Yeah.
You know, so like just occasionally the blocking was like, oh god.
Yeah, and it's like it's so different to something like even 1917 or even Rope, because this film is like way more like shaky and like chaotic than those films. But then I think in a weird way this sort of like fits in with like the feel and the theme of the film, because it gets more chaotic and hectic and then it becomes more shaky. I don't know if that's like an intended thing, because it does get genuinely more like out of control.
I think it sort of helped to ground it in reality, because if you think about it, like most people don't just often rob a bank, you know, so like it helped kind of keep it more grounded. Yeah,
for sure.
But yeah, I think there's definitely moments where a quick cut might have helped. You know, so like not in the way that 1917 did, where they're like go into pitch black room, obvious cuts.
Well, even in 1917 there is actually a cut.
Yeah.
Like there's like, well, it's spoilers again, but there's like an actual cut in the film. And
like, he wakes up way later and you're like, hang on.
Yeah, like he gets knocked out and then it cuts and then he wakes up. So it's like, wait, hang on. So I mean, I think I do appreciate what these guys tried to do with this one. because it's a genuine one take.
Yeah, it's
Like it's a
definitely
genuine, like they would have had to start this and then keep going until the night and be like, how was that take? It's like, oh nah, I guess we'll just shoot it again tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, I have to like wait that entire time, so holy shit. And like for like the actors to like constantly be in this mode for like what 2.5 hours almost, that's like
extremely tough, yeah.
extremely taxing.
For how much time she has to change her emotions and stuff, she's an insanely terrific actress. I have to say.
Yeah, I think her performance was great in this. I don't think the camera captured it
well enough though.
Like all the time.
Yeah.
Like I don't think that helped with like capturing like her facial expressions, at least in some key moments. Like moments where like they're driving down to like the fucking meetup.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen her face.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You just sort of get the back of it. She's like her flippy hair. It's like, yeah, that's cool. And like, yeah, there are sort of like shaky parts of like the car scenes, which I guess is just a limitation of the technology and the way they've done it. But for the most part, I was pretty impressed when I saw this. I was like, oh, okay. Like obviously you've got those like clear moments where it's just like, oh yeah, if you cut it, this would have looked better. But I think for what it is, it's quite a good film, at least from what I feel of it.
I mean, I think at the end we can give at the end of our podcast we could obviously give a score.
I was gonna say, because this is our first episode, so how are we gonna like
everything we want to end with a score?
Should we do like an individual and then a group?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Based on like the average or something.
Yeah, based on the average.
Are we gonna draw next films during this?
I think so.
Yeah, we should. Maybe we should just do the whole draw. Or do you just want to draw one block at a time?
What do you mean, like all the films and then do it? Or...
No, I mean just draw all the films, like, and then we know the order for every single film.
Oh no, do it week by week. Way easier.
Okay, so just 3 films now.
Yeah, we got our first 3. We know what our first 3 are, right?
Yeah, and then after that because I think week by week is better. Yeah. Because then there'll be like ones like with you, they'll be like, oh fuck, Reservoir Dogs is in week 17. Like, I hate that. You know, it's just like.
That'll be Lance. I'm looking forward to Reservoir Dogs.
And you'll be like, oh fucking High School Musical 2.
High School Musical 2.
Yeah. I don't know what mine's gonna be. I don't really hate a lot.
I'm sure there'll be something where you just can't deal with it.
Yeah, there'll be something.
Yeah.
There will be something.
You saw my list, so I mean, you've seen both our lists.
Yeah, we've all seen our lists. Yeah. I shared it to our group chat.
Yeah, you did.
So that's... Yeah.
I found her hair interesting.
Yes. I also found her hair interesting. Because, like, I know you said it, like, in the beginning, Francis. I think that's actually a genuine decision that they made throughout that whole film. Because, like, she puts her hair up and it's, like, almost like a sign of, like, being this, like, nice and tidy, like, keeping everything together type of, like, I guess, gesture. And then, like, the point where she puts it down, I think the first time was in the club again. Like, the second time, I believe. And then when shit started to hit the fan, she's like, oh, shit. You know, put the hair back up again. Like, when the first guy got caught in the cop car, it was like when she put it up again. And then she put it down again when it came to, like, getting the baby out and, like, for the disguise and whatnot, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, yeah, I think there was some choice there to try and make that, like, a significant element of the film. But I don't know if it, like, made much of an impact in the end.
Yeah.
Besides the main character, is there any other characters that you felt strongly about in any way, negative or positive?
I kind of, like, I feel like because of the way they did it, there were certain scenes where, like, in a normal film you would get the impression that they went on longer than they did. So, like, when you look at the rooftop, I would have thought that, like, they're going up to the rooftop, they're going to be drunk up there for, like, a couple of hours.
Yeah.
And then we cut away with, like, 10 minutes, and it's like, okay, we are skipping a lot. You know, like, normally when people, like, hang out and get drunk and high together, it's, like, a big basically what we've done this afternoon, you know, like several hours in the same place.
Yeah,
You know, drinking and having a good time. And I feel like obviously because they have so far to go and they're only doing it in one take, they can't linger on that or give the impression the time has gone by.
And because like in a traditional film, if there was like a cut, like they were like down, they're like, oh, do you want to go to the rooftop? Then cut to the rooftop, and they're like they're having a good time. That like implies this passage of time, and that like they could have been there for 3 hours, 4 hours. They could have been there a whole day. You know, that like cuts sort of imply a massive passage of time, and so because you don't have cuts here, it sort of destroys that element.
Idea,
which I guess you could say is like another restriction that they had. So do you think that sort of broke a little bit of the realism for you?
I just guess it was kind of like because you're having her as the main character, but you've got, especially like Sona and then Boxer and the others, like you're trying to build up the motivation for them.
Yeah.
And so they kind of did that with I think it's Boxer, right? The guy that had the tattoo on his hand.
The aggro
guy that like he was in prison. He's talking about the fact that like he's a good guy, he just did a bad thing.
Yeah.
But like I would have liked a little bit more development around those like Sona and Boxer, just so that you get a bit more grounded with them. And I think because of the way they filmed it, you don't get that kind of sense that she's known them for a bit longer.
Well, that's the thing too, because this is a film that's shot in real time.
Yeah.
And it's presented in real time. So because it's like in real time, it's sort of more difficult to like develop characters in like a proper, more fleshed out way because of the restriction you have and the time that you have with these characters. Like I think Victoria's the most fleshed out one, obviously, because she's got this whole backstory, this main character. I thought Boxer was a lot more fleshed out than Sona was, because you sort of get this. He even has a speech like up on the rooftop where he's like, "Oh, I'm a good guy, I just did this one bad thing," and that's like setting up the whole the idea of him like, oh yeah, he was a criminal and he did this. Now he owes people this, and now we have to do this to help him. You know, so like you get more of like Boxer, I think, than you get of Sona from that regard.
But you wouldn't say like Sona. You wouldn't feel like Sona is like a two-dimensional character, would you?
No, but I just feel
No.
developed.
I kind of felt that Foose and Blinker kind of were though.
Yeah, you really didn't get much from them.
No, like they had like one like character trait was for Foose, he was drunk and it was his birthday. And then he gets comatose and then he's out for like the whole film.
Yeah.
And then with Blinker, he calls everyone brother and sister. He's a crazy out there party animal.
Yeah.
And then that's about it. Which I guess for those characters you don't really need too much for this kind of concept, because they're only serving, like the only service that they, I guess, provide is just being bodies for the crew.
Yeah.
As opposed to, you know, being like it would be nice to have fully fleshed out characters, but at the same time it is quite difficult to even like express that in such a short time.
In this kind of like film, even especially a one shot, especially with one shot and this kind of film, it's almost unrealistic to expect every single character to be fully fleshed out.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
You can't do it.
You just can't do it. It's hard enough doing it in like a normal film, but then doing it here, it's just...
I don't get Sona and the other two's motivations for helping Boxer. Like I get that they're mates.
Yeah, no,
like...
I get that. Yeah, no, you're mates and you help your mate.
Yeah,
no,
but
I
if one of you guys were like, "Help, I need to rob a bank," I'd probably be like, "Oh, right."
Well, that's because we're not like criminals, and we're not brothers.
Yeah, I guess like
no, because the reason I say it is because I have friends who are like that.
Oh, okay.
And you know, I've seen this so many times where I'm just like, you know, they're doing stupid shit, but because that's your bro, it's like you have to do it.
It's different.
You know? It's a different dynamic. Our dynamic is
I
not
thought
quite
they were
that.
more, you know, like petty criminals, you know, like drug offences, robbing a co-op, or like a dairy is what you guys call them. You know, like there's a bit of a difference between the bloke that nicks a couple of beers from the dairy and the bloke that robs a bank. You know, like.
But I think the whole purpose of like at least the first half of the film is like they're establishing this brotherhood between this crew.
Yeah.
And so that is what sort of becomes this motivating factor of they'll go through anything to help each other. Yeah. Even if it is to like do these crimes, because of course even Boxer says like, I'm a good guy, like we've been together since we were one, even though that's
Probably not true. Yeah.
probably not true, but that's sort of what you say when
Yeah.
you're like close personal friends, and it's like, yeah, sure, he's done this one bad thing, or like maybe he did many bad things, but at the same time, it's just like I do buy that they would do that,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
because I think that dynamic does work.
I guess it spirals quickly, but not in a way that feels like she has no control over it. I guess just for me,
Yeah.
you know, like
No, I think she does have control, but then she's also got like a choice.
yeah,
And so that she makes the active decision to keep within the crew, because I think, like I said before, Sona like constantly keeps giving her an out. It's like, you okay?
yeah,
She's like, yeah, no, I'm okay, I'm fine. It's like, we'll take you back to the cafe. Like, no, I'm fine. This is like as they're driving, right? He's like, oh, let's go back to the cafe. It's, you know, I want you safe. And she's just like, no, I'm good. I'm okay.
I feel like she's a character of two halves of the film. The first half, yes. I feel like she is kind of just pulled along, and she's just a player. Like a player who has no control, say, over the situation that's happening around her, really. But as soon as you get to the part where Blinker is getting absolutely heartthrob from his whatever he took with the cocaine and stuff, I think that's when she starts taking control and she becomes the active leader.
Yes.
Really.
Yeah.
In that scene.
Yeah.
As soon as they get out of their car and Blinker's like dying. Or Seth feels like he's dying.
Yeah, I think there's like a complete like 180 flip that happens like in the film, because she's in this position where these guys are like, oh hey, how are you going? Like, what are you doing tonight? She's like, oh, I'm just gonna go home. Oh no, come with us. And it's sort of, that's the traditional thing.
yeah.
And then later on it flips to the point where someone's like, oh no, you should go to the cafe. She's like, no, I want to come.
Yeah.
So like now it's transformed from this whole come like into our adventure, and then she's like, oh nah, I really shouldn't, but I will anyway, to this whole don't get caught up in our mess. And she's like, no, I want to help you. And I think the whole idea was to like create this connection between her and these characters to make it feel as though she has this emotional, I guess, resonance with them, and this thrill-seeking nature, to the point where you could like almost buy that.
Yeah.
But like you said, like I don't know if everyone would buy that, obviously, because you've got this whole logical, you could just leave now. But I think that's sort of, I guess, the limitations of like doing a one shot, is that like if this was cut up amongst across like if she got to know them for like a series of weeks and then they were out again one night and then they had to do this, then maybe that could have sold you a bit more, I would say. But I think overall I didn't mind that too much, I think, because I think you're right, there is like a bit of a like, it's a bit of a hard sell and like suspension of disbelief because of how, I guess, quick it all happens. But again, that is sort of the nature of like how the film is constructed and how it's structured overall.
Like, because I want to ask you this, because I mean, I feel like you said like where the movie should have ended, like that it's a movie of two halves. Like, I have a movie down the list that I'm not going to spoil for you, obviously, and I want to see if you can guess which one is thing where like there is one half of the film that everyone thinks is amazing and the second half is not considered quite as good. Like, for this film, do you feel like the second half is not as good as the first half?
I definitely feel that once you get back to the end of the second club scene, that it's like, alright guys, wrap it up.
It's over.
Alright guys, wrap it up. Alright guys, wrap it up. God, we're still going. Can we wrap it up? Alright guys, wrap it up. Alright guys. Fuck, we're still going. We've got like another half an hour, you know? I don't know like what you'd call it, maybe like a motif or something, but they have this kind of like that theme of we're good people doing bad things. Yeah. And when she does with the whole like baby thing, it's like, we're good people, and I'm like, are you? You know, like I think you're confusing good with ordinary, you know? Like,
well, I guess that's the question you could ask, like, even though they obviously say that to justify their bad behavior and their negative actions. So, like, I guess that's a question that you could take away from the film, is like, are you really a good person if you've gone through all this? you know.
Yeah, I just feel
Because
like I'm just like, it feels a little bit, like the guys that are douchebags to women, and they're like, why do women not like me? I'm a nice guy. And it's like, you behave like a cunt. I mean, like, I don't know what you want from me here, like she's like, we're good people. I'm like, you've literally got this couple at gunpoint and you're talking about abducting their child. No, you're not a good person. Like, what?
And the thing is, like, I feel like maybe that's the one thing that wasn't fleshed out. Like, they talk about good things, but I never got to see any of the really good things. I saw them do, like, be ordinary people. Which is, like, okay, but being ordinary doesn't make you good, I wouldn't say. I feel like I never saw anything that pushed them in the way of being good.
No, I get what you're saying, and I do agree with that statement as well, because you're not really shown what they like. You're not seeing them like help old ladies cross the street, a cat out of a tree.
Like, not orphanage,
something
like
that. But no, like in terms of like, this is a good person. You should, root for them. But I think that's also, again, a limitation of the concept itself. Because, like, sure, they could have added a scene like that, but then I think that might have detracted from the whole idea that they were trying to go for. Because you're right, there is that theme of, like, we're good people, we just do bad things. And then it just gets to a point where I think that ideology just comes into question.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main point of it, is that, like, are you a good person? Despite the fact that you started, like, with Victoria, she started as sort of like this sort of passive sort of character, and she's like, oh, I don't want a part of this. I'm just sort of, I've got no control of, like, going into this, and then she becomes this active, like, instigator and this planner and this, like, she gets, like, I think the lowest point of the film is when they steal that baby, because I think for many viewers that can be like a real, like, switch off in terms of, like, this is morally wrong, this is unethical, you can't do this. And, like, again, she says, like, we're not bad people, we're just in a shitty situation. But then again, it's like, that's almost more telling of her character.
Yeah.
Because I think her and Boxer are probably the most similar. Whereas Sona, when he saw the baby, he's like, why did you let us in, you fucking idiot? Oh, it's over. Like, he just gives up. He doesn't even think about, taking that baby until she brings the idea up and, like, nah, let's just do it. And then he gets into this point where he's like, oh yeah, fuck it, let's just do it. And then it sort of becomes this interesting question of, like, I guess, morality.
Yeah, I just feel like it didn't push the we're good people part hard enough.
I think that's the point.
Okay, you think that's what they're going for?
So what my overall point is, I think that they, like, thrust these characters into the situation without establishing, like, that she's this fucking holy angelic character, like, that Boxer used to save kids from a burning building or something stupid like that. And they're just sort of like these blank slates, and then they start doing all of these, like, criminal things.
I mean, you get some backstory with the guys, though, when they're talking about, like, he stole the car at 11 and then he used to steal, like, pizza bikes or whatever. So, like, you get the impression that they have a background of, like, being bad. But you don't get that from her, like, if anything, you don't. You kind of just get that she didn't really do much before.
Exactly. Like, because even when she, like, steals the alcohol from the dairy, she's, like, super excited. Like, she steals those peanuts. Yeah, that's like the first active thing she does. Is steal a bag of peanuts. Like, oh my god, I've done this thing. Ooh. Like, it's that idea of, like, of doing these little things, and they just sort of escalating, because I think that sort of, like, reverts back to, like, how she's, I guess, internalized all of her, like, pain of, like, rejection and failure. And I feel like, talking about it now, that, like, her taking control is just this big burst of, like, nothing's gone right with me. Like, because the fact that she, with her piano backstory, it's like she worked really hard and she trained for this and she wanted this, but then the competitive nature of her dream didn't allow her to live out that dream. And so now it's sort of, I guess, this idea that she's trying to gain control of something in her life. because she's lost control of so many other things.
I think that sort of like the piano backstory also kind of plays into this, like good people, bad things, because she's talking about the fact that the people that she was friends, sort of friends quotation marks with, like she wanted them to fail so that she could succeed.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
there's that battle between like, am I still a good person if I want to do well at the expense of other people? So they do have that bit in there, I guess, where they kind of explore that idea.
Yeah,
You know?
for sure.
Anything else we want to talk about, or do we want to give a score now?
What did we think of like the choices of putting in music? Because there are still like 2 or 3 parts.
I couldn't help but wonder if that was to cover something up.
I thought that was like, okay, we're gonna put the music in here. Now go there, act happy, like something like
I couldn't
that.
help but wonder if it's like somebody's desperately having like a drink of water in the background,
There was one part like where the music changed, made no sense, and it did not flow seamlessly. Like when they came from robbing the bank to the club, it didn't flow seamlessly into each other. The music, because there were 2 different music at that point, and it did not flow seamlessly into each other.
No, I agree.
It was the same when they got in the elevator the first time. That music that overrided that scene, you kind of wonder like, was the elevator super noisy? Like.
See, with the elevator, I personally didn't understand why they put music there.
Yeah.
I sort of get why they did it in the club scene though.
Yeah.
Because in the club scene, it's like, we've done this like fucked up thing and it was really scary, but we've gotten through it. We're all safe. Let's have a party, and it's like this state of like euphoria and like ecstasy, and it's just like, oh my god, we've done this. Let's like fuck in the club. Let's get naked, and then that music is trying to like express that emotion, I think. So for that one, that made sense to me. But then the elevator one was
for the elevator, like it kind of almost felt like we want like a tonal shift, but we can't do that because we're in the middle of traveling from one location to another.
Exactly.
How do we change the tone? Sad music, and it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like 1917 did like similar things as well.
Yeah.
With like musical cues to the point where like, because I was thinking about that film recently, I was just like, oh yeah, there's a lot of like, this is the part where you should feel nervous.
Yeah.
Where you should feel scared. You should feel sad now.
We're going to tell you this by the music.
And it's all through music. Yeah. It's just like, I mean, you can't just like stay here for like a bit and just let us feel what they're feeling. But yeah.
I think that's like, I guess the biggest restriction in some ways is like where in normal films you'd have time to dedicate to character development or other, like developing the themes a bit more. Because they have to travel so much, the time that's spent traveling, you can't really be doing that to the same extent.
Yeah.
And so, like, especially some of the car scenes, it's like, we're trying to find something to fill in this time because we've got to get from one location to another.
Because we can't cut.
We can't cut, but, like, it's very hard in that sense to develop characters or to build on themes because you're literally trying to fill that space between one thing and another.
I don't know.
It's a bug.
It's unfortunately dead. If only my ex heard me now. No! He's a murderer!
They're God's creatures, Tucky!
I was just telling these guys about it. The moth thing.
Yeah.
I've told you about that, right?
Yeah, she didn't really kill it.
Yeah. It's like I can't kill a living creature. It's like, fucking what? Okay.
Kill it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Do it. I can't think of anything else more to say.
Not at the moment.
No, just because talked about all the technical aspects of it, which is mainly like the whole reason why I even chose this film. Because I would have just chosen Rope because I think Rope is a better story. I don't know if you agree with that, Lance. Actually, one more question. It'll be towards you two, I guess. Is that, do you think this did a better or worse job than the other one-shot film that you saw?
From 1917.
Yeah, and then with you for Rope, I guess.
But that's not a real one-shot.
No, but
it's
they make
presented as one shot.
It's presented as one shot.
I mean, I guess it's a very difficult comparison because 1917 is, in terms of cinematography, far better than this one.
Oh, for
but
sure.
That's budget.
That is budget.
And also they didn't really do it in one shot. I think 1917 is better, but it's not pulling the same weight, if you get what I mean. Like, it's not got the budgetary restrictions. This actually is one shot, whereas that was many shots stitched together to look like it wasn't one shot. So, like
in many ways, it's not like a fair comparison.
It's not a fair comparison at all. I like this idea, but I think if you're going to pull something like this off, you maybe need one or two less characters and a lot less travel time. You know, like, you need a situation in which, I don't know if any of you have seen, like, 12 in a Box, the play, but it's like they're locked in a house. You know, like, that sense of, because with that sense of claustrophobia, you probably would get one take to look quite, you know, like, closed in, and that would help with the kind of tone.
Yeah.
Whereas I think with this, because there was so much travelling, you kind of lose a lot of time where you'd want to be developing characters. You know, and you can't in the same way, or like they didn't pull that off to the same extent.
Right.
So, yeah, not a fair comparison.
Yeah.
Lance, as you've seen Rope.
I don't think a movie from 48 and 2015. I don't know if they can be fairly compared, but
I guess in terms of like the story of both, like, does Rope benefit from being quote unquote a one take as opposed to like Victoria? Does Victoria benefit from a one take in the same manner?
I think it's going for something a lot more, because like Rope is such a very small set. Small set, yeah. So it can be easy for Rope, even if it did shoot, even if it went realistically one shot, it would have been much easier. Then with everyone, you're moving all the time almost.
Yeah, because Rope is like just like a couple of rooms, really, eh? It's like this one big room with like a kitchen, and it's basically it. Because I was thinking about that whole idea of like, would it benefit? Because Rope to me feels more like a stage play than an actual film.
That's what I said. I feel like it feels like a play more than a movie.
Yeah, because a lot of the times it's just like wide shots of like people in the frame, and then it's like moving around this whole thing. It's almost like the eyes of like an audience member at a play, just sort of watching everything happen. And it's, again, it's that felt more like a stage play to me, whereas like 1917 felt like an experience, and they were trying to go for something more immersive and hectic. Whereas this one, I feel like it went for the same thing as well as 1917, but again, yeah, not a fair comparison. But I guess like what I was asking was like,
does it benefit from being one shot?
Yeah. I guess that could be the final question that we pass around. We'll go with you, Francis. Do you think this was better as a one shot, or do you think it could have been better as something else?
I don't think it would exist without that as its kind of catching point. I don't think the plot would stand up otherwise.
Yeah.
Without the technical proficiency, it's kind of stale plot-wise.
Which I think speaks to the limitation of what they've done. But yeah, I kind of also think like if they'd only have done like a couple of takes, like a couple of shots, cuts, what the fuck am I saying, cuts, like you'd get that thing in 1917 where it's like, that's a cut, that's a cut, that's a cut, you know, like, because you have these big blocks. But in saying that, if you've seen La La Land, that's shot in a kind of way where there's a lot of long takes and then cuts, but that didn't feel as choppy, so it obviously can be done. But do I think it benefited from being one take? I think that's probably its biggest appeal as a film, because plot-wise it's a little weak.
Yeah, it's like the hook of the film. Right? Yeah. And that was like my main reason for even putting it in. Like, because personally I don't think the story is that great at all. Like, I think it's probably the weakest out of all of the one-shot films I've seen. But I was just more genuinely impressed and captivated by the fact that it's a genuine one-shot, whereas the other ones had to, like, they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it, and I think this is an example for why they couldn't do it, because then it would have run into the same problems that this film
does.
Yeah, so I think it's an important film for like looking at the limitations of doing something like this, and why much better films benefit from not being genuine one shots, but having that presentation of it. But yeah, Lance, what do you think?
Does it benefit from being a one-shot film? I would say it again, it's the hook, and I was thinking as watching it, like, it's interesting, the story and stuff, but as Franz said, it is a bit still, like, I mean, again, sometimes if things work, you don't need to fix it, because, I mean, it's a story that everyone loves, right? The innocent person getting caught up in some big-ass gang thing. Yeah, I mean, it's a tale as old as time. Legitimately, it's happened for a lot of time. But yeah, like...
Song as old as rhyme.
Yeah, it's been the beast. But yeah, it's a good... I mean, I can't say it's a good story because it's been done so many times, but it's a version of a story that's done a lot of times. But in a one-shot film, if you're trying to do a fully fledged one-shot film, I feel like trying a story that's unique is gonna suck. Instead of having having a nice set template that you can use off of, it's so much easier to use for one-shot film. So I don't think they could have done much more for the story.
So, but like in saying that though, like a good story doesn't have to be original.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Absolutely does not need to be original at all. But I was saying that in a fully fledged one-shot film, trying to do something original is nearly impossible. You need something that you need its template.
To make it work.
Yeah.
Do we want to do final scores, Francis?
Yeah.
With 10 being the highest possible score and 1 being the lowest, unless we have a 0, which we're giving to High School Musical.
I think no. I think for the scores, 1 has to be the lowest because 1 is it's a film.
Yeah.
1 is it is technically a film.
0 would be like it didn't exist.
So,
yeah. They forgot to
take the lens cap off and it's just black.
0 is they forgot to record.
And there are no decimal points, guys.
No,
Just hard scores.
Decimals. Okay.
Good one.
I can't feel pressure then.
Because that's definitive.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, Francis, give us a number.
6.
Okay.
Good, yeah.
6 out of 10.
6 out of 10?
Mm-hmm.
No caveat to that? Just 6 out of 10?
Just aesthetically.
Oh, okay.
Just aesthetically, it's a 6.
Yeah.
Or like aesthetically is the reason why you're giving it a 6.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, okay. I'm at a 5, closer to the 6 than a 4.
Fucking why I miss over here.
Yeah, I know why I'm up in this house.
It's a 5 out of 10.
Passes.
Closer to a 6 and a 4.
Passes on a technical idea, but I wouldn't watch it again. Lance.
I'm going to be the first 7, actually. I think there's a lot, especially the first half of the film is brilliant. It's great, actually. It's just that second half after the club scene, it felt like there was no more point in... I think my brain just switched off and it's like, okay, when are we going to end? But yeah, a 7 out of 10. I think it's a fair score for what they're trying. And the fact that it's it's a done story, but it was done well, I think.
I will agree with that, Lance, because I was also going to give it a 7, which I will give it a 7. The reason is because I think the story is like a 6 or a 5, but I think the attempt overall and just how it was able to execute like the good moments, because there are good moments in this film, and I don't think those should be discounted by all of the shaky camera work and the lost focus and the fucking weird exposure and all that. I do agree with Vic in that I probably wouldn't see it again, and the only reason I saw this again was for the purpose of this with you guys, to get that sort of discussion going. Because when I first saw this, I was like, oh wow, that's very sad, and there were good moments in it, but then I didn't have the need to see it again. Yeah. But in saying that, I think for me, on an individual basis, it would be a 7, closer to a 6 than an 8, obviously. Because I don't think it's in that sort of range. So we've got all our individual scores. How are we gonna?
Well, if you strictly divide it by 4, which is there's 4 of us, you come out at a 6.25. So I'm thinking we might just call it a solid group 6.
I think it is a solid group 6.
It's a solid group 6.
Yeah. Alrighty, so a solid group 6.
If you'd given it a 6, it would be a 7.
Victoria. What's that?
If she'd given it a 6, it would have ended up as a 7. Because it would have been 6.5.
Yeah, it's all your fault, Vic.
Oh, sorry.
How dare you? Gosh, it's the first episode. You gave it a 6. Nah, I'm having
So we're giving Victoria 2015 a 6 overall.
That's good that you had to say
Cut
that.
it, yeah.
You had to say that.
We're giving me
It
a.
had to be you. Yeah.
On Taki's film.
What's that?
On Taki's film.
I'm
And
taking.
for
I
Taki's
don't,
first
I don't take it personally. It's just
Yeah.
like, yeah.
No.
Like, I assume she's gonna give High School Musical 2 a fucking.
One.
Shit, one.
I think
Closer
so.
to a 0 than a 2.
It's a 12.
If I do it.
I think
I give it an honorary 12.
we can't come in
It
here and give it
gives-
shows
I'd give it a 12,000. Is what I'd
Well, that averages out to like.
Like,
Yeah.
if I came in and give Reservoir Dogs a 1, you'd be so pissed.
I'm gonna be very.
I'd actually be. So that one I can accept, that one I can't.
you
I'm generally
I can't
can
accept
accept
that
Vic
one.
being like a 5, but Lance being like a 1 for Reservoir Dogs. Fuck off.
Yeah. Well, because I think Reservoir Dogs is like an actual.
Full.
Yeah. Well,
So-
High School Musical is a film. It's an actual film. And it's a fun film. And you should enjoy it when you see
Give it a fair score.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
be so drunk. Okay, should we announce? So next film is North by Northwest.
And who chose that one? Lance?
Victoria.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
that's my pick. And then Lance's pick afterwards is
Guess who's coming to dinner?
Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
It's not your film because I can't find it on torrent.
We'll find it.
We'll find it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.